Hey everyone, welcome to the new episode of Do It with Rio. I'm really excited to invite Z on today. Thanks for coming, Z. Hey, do you want to give everyone a little bit of an intro about who you are?
All right, thanks, John, for inviting. So my name is Z. So I'm founder and CEO of Monsta Asia. So what we do is we are in a mission to build and discover talent. So especially what we do is really in building talent engagement and development platform to really empower the future young people to be an asset, to add values to our industry and the businesses.
I'm really excited to have you on board because you've had a very interesting journey with your company, uh, largely using interns, fresh grads, and very young professionals to build the business until it got to a certain size, and you could hire more experienced professionals. But it's a really interesting journey, and I think we first met back in 2015, something like that, when I was at
Yeah.
iFlix, and what's that? Six
When I
six
first
years
started
ago.
my business, yeah,
Yeah, six. It
six
doesn't
years
seem
ago.
like 6 years ago, but yeah, it's a long time to have known you. It's great to get you onto the podcast. I've seen all the adverts for the Monster Awards coming up as well, right? Um,
Yeah,
when will that be? I know the submissions end soon. When's the actual ceremony going to be?
the award is basically Monsta Awards, the Asia Young Talent Awards. It's happening
Hmm.
on 20th November, 8:30 to 10. So it's a live finale show on Facebook, and yeah, everyone can go check out the brightest young talent that in Asia that will be showcased there. Yeah,
Nice, fantastic. It's a shame the pandemic has affected it, and I've been to the two live events,
physical one. Yeah,
physical events, and they were fantastic. It's such a shame you can't do the physical events anymore. But yeah, looking forward to
yeah,
the virtual session. So what I really wanted to talk to you about today was to really understand that journey you've been through, and how you've really used the assets that have been available to you, as in your business, helping give interns experience and helping companies find good interns, using those interns to build your own business. So, I mean, what has been some of the main issues for you? Actually, I think that's what people will most want to hear about when you're using interns to build your business. How do you maintain that kind of consistency within your business as interns are coming in and out? How do you keep your company going in the correct direction?
yeah. I started when I started my business. It's not immediately I want to hire intern. It's just that that time I don't have money to hire anyone. So that's why you need to start with intern, and because to survive with your business you start figuring out what can you do with your current resources, and skill and expand from there. So of course when I first started until now, we still hire intern and a lot of young fresh grads in our team.
Mm,
I think one thing is important is to uh, create a system around it. Like you don't need to really always be there and repeating and repeat and repeat and repeat the same thing again, because
yeah.
for them they just need a proper guidance and direction. They don't need to have the hoo-ha thing that you always need to host party for them, but what
Mm,
they need is clarity. So especially if you are engaging with a young talent or intern, it's important to show them what is the expectation, what are the processes, and then really get them in on board into this system. And the rest of the thing they would know how to do it. Of course, in and out you can give certain guidance and pair them up with someone who has experience in the team
mm,
to bring them through this whole process. So I
yeah.
feel it's as simple as how you do the onboarding with your employees. It goes same to the intern as well. It's just that you
Mm,
can put a bit more effort in providing clarity and guidance.
yeah. Got it. And I've always been really interested in company culture, especially the difference between the real culture on the one hand and the culture that you project on social media on the other hand. Um, I think it's very easy to show a certain culture on social media, but it's not so easy to maintain and build a culture, even in a very established company, with people coming
Yep.
in, people coming out. Every person who joins has an influence on the culture. But for a company like yourself, where uh, a lot of the employees don't necessarily have long tenures, how do you maintain the culture that you want, and how has your culture kind of evolved as your company has grown?
Mm, culture is one. We stand very strongly for our core values. whereby we just not don't do it just because of putting at the wall and then repeating it and read this
Yeah.
is our value, but we really practice it. So for example, really learning growth is one of our core values. So what we do is we even implement it in every meetings. Before we start our meeting, always the 5 minutes is a learning space. So you can learn anything. You share anything that you feel like sharing. It's like 5 ways to exercise and keep fit in 20 minutes, things like that. So we always have this culture to what we write, we actually take action and practice it internally. That is one. And I think that is also the reason why the team are really excited to meeting now. So okay, today I'm gonna share. I'm the teacher. The next week another one will share. So that is the culture that keep it going. And another thing is, as I say, because we work with a lot of young people, certain rules are implemented. So we do have our 3 golden rules. So whatever we do, we have to follow that. Like, we have to keep everyone in the loop. When you are questioning on, you have question on certain thing, always seek to understand first. And lastly, got each other back. So we always implement, these rules that I say, hey, you're not following rules number 3. You miss out. Even me, they say, Z, you are assuming a lot of things already. It's time to seek to understand first before you jump into conclusion. So these are the practice that we really, remind each other and really implement it in what we do
It's
every day.
interesting because in a large company where you hire mostly experienced professionals, they've worked in an office before, they've worked in a professional environment before, and there's certain rules when you work in any kind of office environment, and you slowly pick them up in your first 3 months, 6 months, a year, and they become embedded into you, right? So when you move companies, they've got these same basic rules of certain level of politeness, certain level of this. And when you have interns come in an established company, they see everyone adhering to these rules and they just automatically start to follow them. But when you have a company of interns, it must be harder, right? And you have to actually really establish these rules and spend time to actually educate people on what is the right way to behave in a professional environment. Actually one of the things I've always struggled with interns. I've managed large teams of professionals, and especially with recruitment, it can be very KPI driven. So with my experienced team members, I'm very used to just driving them on how many CVs they find, how many interviews they do, of course, how many placements they make. But when I have interns in my team, for some reason, I struggle to be a boss, and I naturally fall into the role of father, which means I find it hard to push them and drive them, and find it hard to. I love the mentoring part and the teaching and things like this, but I find it really hard to drive them and push them and set them really meaningful targets to measure their performance. How do you measure and track the performance, and how do you kind of measure how to set goals which are achievable, but also push people to their limits, and give them the experience that they would need for a meaningful internship?
I think first thing first is really setting the expectation first before setting the KPI. So we always said what's your strength, what's your expertise here, and how is your working style. So kind of understand that. Then that's when we allocate the KPI according what they are able to perform as well. So we really communicate first. Then after that, we set a bit benchmark on the KPI and then get them to drive. So of course, because they are intern, their KPI are not exactly like a big thing, but it's really under the department. They do support in driving certain things for that. So to us, right, is to really know what's the angle, showing the expectation and telling them why are we achieving that, and then your role play this part, and you will need to achieve this to get there. And in order to get there, so what we do is we have a lot of feedback session. If we kind of gauge that in a OKR, because we implement OKR in a weekly basis, and we have our daily hurdle to measure our daily metrics as well. So we kind of could monitor. We have daily metrics and also weekly OKR and monthly meeting, right? So through this process, we can actually gauge whether they could hit the KPI even before our deadline. So if we realize that it's actually not growing, there's some problem there, that's where we have feedback, and we need to troubleshoot the problem in our tactical agenda. Is it because of the personal issue, or is it because really the goal is setting too high? And it goes back to really business 101, knowing how can we get to alignment on how what are feasible or not. So yeah, to me,
Yeah.
I'm doing this normal way. I feel to gauge with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love interviewing interns, but I don't like making decisions on hiring when it comes to interns. When I'm hiring my own team of experienced people, I know exactly what I'm looking for. But when I'm hiring interns, I guess I'm looking much more for potential rather than raw experience. So I
Correct.
always struggle to really make that decision on hiring and make an intelligent decision. How do you decide? Because obviously your company as a whole is meeting and talking and engaging with thousands of students and internship seekers and fresh grads. How do you decide which ones you want to join Monster?
This is a very, very good question. I just posted something on my Facebook the other day. I say I look for any talent by this three I. Let me look back and let you know this three I. The first I, yeah, it's a three I thing. Let me just quickly get into it. Okay, first three main criteria. First one is intelligent. Like when
Mm,
through the conversation, are they intelligent enough to deal with certain things? EQ is very important. Second,
mm,
integrity. Then third
yeah.
is initiative. So I kind of will gauge with them, are they in this three I? If they are intelligent, they are integrity, but they are too smart, their initiative is not strong, they will kind of like, then these are people we will say no to. If you are integrity and
Mm,
initiative, but they are not intelligent enough, not smart enough, street smart enough to go around things, oh, sorry, we will not have you too. So we will ask questions to kind of gauge with these three I to decide whether we want them or not. And these are also the core we believe towards their potential. Yeah, it's
mm,
not the hard skill. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I often, when I'm interviewing interns, I often tell a corny joke, just to see if they laugh or not, to see if they get it.
Yeah.
It shows if they do get it, it shows a kind of certain level of EQ. But even if they
Correct.
don't get it, if they laugh, it means they understand I'm in an interview. That interviewer has told a joke, even though I don't think it's funny. I should probably laugh because it's the polite thing to do. I find it works quite well. It is tough with hiring interns. I know when I was a recruitment consultant and I was hiring for other companies, quite often they would ask me to hire recruiters for them, and I'd do the interviewing, and it's very difficult because if I meet a good recruiter that would be perfect for this role in my client's company, but actually they'd also be really good for my team, right? If they're good at what they do, they'd be good at my team, but they'd also be good to join the company and get me a billing. So I was always in this awkward situation. Do I give this candidate to the client and get paid, or should I keep this candidate for my own team and help me build my team? But do you have the same issue with interns? Obviously, you are helping interns find jobs and helping clients find great interns and fresh grads. Do you keep the best ones for yourself, or do you have different criteria to think of than that?
I always believe every company has different culture, and then I may see this intern as a good one, but doesn't mean it's good to other company, you see. So
Yeah,
using our platform, because we drive our engagement with the talent through our Go Monster community platform. So we just recently implement our assessment there. So this assessment is when before they even apply, we need to gauge with what's their values, what's their interest, why do they wanted to even apply for the company. So from there, we actually could gauge whether it fits into our culture or not. So to me, to judge a good intern, I always feel like whether it fits in or not, the attitude, the way you write, So
mm,
then I don't really define them as a good or bad yet, even by seeing the CV. It's really the style,
yeah,
so the energy, So it fits in the culture, then we think it's good, then definitely we get it first. So
yeah,
then if it's not too good, or not too good, but if they think that because they have their choice to select others option, so they do select
yeah,
others, and then we find the assessment is like good for us, we will definitely offer them, but it's still back to their choice. Yeah,
yeah,
to make
yeah.
decision.
I think you can have great candidates in terms of the skill, the ability, the experience, etc.
Yeah.
But they also have to fit not just the culture, but the current team members, the boss. There has to be a synergy. There has to be a match. And a candidate who is fantastic in one company might not fit another company at all. But with hiring mostly young professionals, interns, fresh grads, there's obviously always skills that you can only acquire on the job, right? You can do a degree in marketing, but in many ways that doesn't really prepare you for real life marketing. Education always tends to be at least 5 years behind where things are in the real world, at least 5 years, and especially in a tech related roles, and marketing these days is a very tech kind of role. How do you fill in the skill gaps? How do you make up for their lack of real world knowledge and real world skill?
This is very interesting. For us, one thing that we notice, right, especially for Gen Z, the upcoming young talent, their strength is self-learning, because to them, everything is online. So if you could give them a feedback saying that I wanted to achieve this and I realize your technical skill on this, I have to have improvement or something. And then if they hear from the boss, right, hey, this is the area they want, to me, they can figure out themselves. They will self-learn it. So they will Google and come back to me, what I can do better in that skill. So for example, digital marketing, I don't know how to set up SEO. I will tell them, I don't know how to set up my SEO. I know you don't know, but figure out a way and let me know how. So the next day, they will it's an assignment to them. They work on it. Okay, Z, I thought I did this. But first thing first is the boss has to know what they need, then to tell them. If not, you can't just throw them a problem, say, I don't know. Then they will get lost. They don't know how to help you. But you could be more specific on this area, then they could help you in the technical perspective.
Yeah. And you mentioned Gen Z, and obviously that's a big part of your kind of company identity. I think we've spoken about this in the past. I'm not the biggest believer in the differences between Gen X, Gen Z, millennials, etc. But of course I recognize there are trends and things like this. But for Gen Z, what do you think are the most important differentiators at the moment? And from a hiring manager's point of view, when they are trying to get interns on board, you mentioned that they love to self-learn. What are the things that you think someone hiring interns needs to know about Gen Z?
They are independent. Yeah, so because if it's previous traditional culture, we tend to say, hey, we are micromanaging it, and we need them to be there 24/7, be on call, So it's like, if I can't see you means you're not working, those kind of mindset. But actually, for Gen Z, if you don't see them, they are working too. They just arrange and plan by their own comfortable, and they will use their way and they will achieve the goal if you set very clearly. And they are very independent. Just trust that they will do it if you give them a clear direction.
And I guess that's one of the positive things for you working mostly with Gen Z, and especially I guess the younger scale of Gen Z in many cases. What's the most frustrating thing for you? What's the thing that makes you think I wish these guys would just do this a bit differently? I wish these guys could sort this out about themselves. What's the most frustrating thing?
Because this group of people, they have too many options and opportunity. So I feel sometimes they are really they need to perseverance a bit more. So when they hit the hardship, because things come too easy to them, sometimes they will kind of feel it's okay, I'll try other ways. So the how to say, the perseverance and the mental strength to hold on something and continue the hardship. Yes, it's true that they might be not that strong compared to us, right? So because we need to know the reason behind, because things are easy to them now, accessible, right?
And for yourself, when you talk about perseverance and hitting a wall, when I have an intern in my team, I am one of the mentors. But I also have a team of very experienced people who can also act as mentor. And I'll normally only have one, maximum two interns at a time. How is it for you when you are essentially not just being a boss, but being a mentor to quite a lot of interns at once without any strong layers of various levels of seniority beneath you who can also be mentors? You're essentially the lone mentor to quite a lot of interns. Is that kind of mentally exhausting for you?
Actually, right, to be honest, I don't have much. I don't mentor too many people. I only mentor like the core team, like probably 3 of them. That's all. The rest, I actually train them or even get them to be the mentor. Even you're an intern, you can be a mentor. So we don't really say that you are a senior, you have to be a mentor. But as long as you are here 1 month before, and you can be mentor already. So I kind of gauge that you can actually lead already, since as long as we could transfer the core values, what's our culture like to the next one, and being a peer support for them.
And do you think you specifically attract interns that want to be leaders and want to play a mentoring role? Because a lot of people don't want to do that, right? A lot of people just want to be given a job, X, Y, Z, do that, and that. Other people, they want to take on things that push them out of their comfort zone. They want to be leaders as soon as possible. Do you think you naturally attract that kind of intern?
Yeah, I attract people who want to take initiative. So as I say, the 3 I's is one of the criteria. So if you could be an admin, but I need an admin that have initiative. So if an admin have initiative, they eventually could, support and mentor another person. They could lead. So I always I'm a strong believer of, if you are a leader, is a good leader is to build more leaders in their life or anything. So my mission is really building them as a leader too. So yeah, even they don't want, then they may not be in my culture.
Yeah, I think when in the past when I've hired interns, it's always been for the purpose of converting that intern into a full-time employee at some point.
Correct.
I have hired interns who had no real interest in recruitment, but they wanted the experience and they were really good, and I liked them, so I hired them, even though I knew they wouldn't stay on in terms of a full-time role. But mostly I like people that I can push them on a certain road towards recruitment, HR, culture, employee branding, etc. How do you advise companies in terms of finding people that will meet the certain criteria that they have? So when I'm hiring people for my own team for interns, or when I'm hiring management trainee programs, the competition is so tough for the top tier of interns and fresh grads. You've got all the major consulting companies who have a massive presence in universities to pick out the people with the top degree scores. You have all the very large banks, FMCGs doing the same thing. For SMEs, for startups who actually get much more value from interns than a lot of the large companies, how do you, or what's the best way for them to attract interns, fresh grads? What's the best way for them to compete with the massive companies and the traditional kind of favorite places for people to do internships, like the big consulting firms, the big four, and things like this?
You might be surprised. We did a research with 160 of the Gen Z. Then we asked them, if you, for your choice or for your career, which industry would they, what kind of type of business you would choose. Surprisingly, it's 50-50. Corporate is 50%, another 50% is SME and startup. And I think one challenge that they face of eventually not getting into SME or startup is because they do not know where to find them.
Yeah.
They are not obvious to them, That's why they get into the big names, right? So if I am an SME or I am a startup, for me, I'm a startup, I need to put my name out there to let them know I'm here, I'm here, choose us. Then if they know about you, they notice about you, then they will understand what's your business. They go to your website and try and check on you, and then they will decide. So I think first step is really, how can your how can you to put your name as an SME or startup, your name out there and let them know about you first. Then they have a choice, Employer branding. Yeah, we discussed about that before.
And that's a service that you guys provide, right? The
Yes.
student influencers within universities who help companies promote their brand name and their employer brand for companies, right?
Yeah, we have communities to bring your name out through content and through events, and they know about you at least. Yeah, because typical career fair, you are just competing with so many brands, and what more can you do? So we always think of new ways to bring your brand out there and be creative.
It's very relevant because recruitment nowadays is as much about content as it is about headhunting. And most recruitment teams are not really equipped to be able to produce large amounts of quality content, which is time consuming and it's hard and takes a lot of creativity and technical knowledge as well in many cases. So it's fantastic to be able to outsource it to somebody who knows a little better. But that's focused on what companies should do in order to attract the best interns. What do you think is a company's responsibility to an intern? I think in the old days, when I was growing up, when I was going for internships, interns were there to make tea and coffee, to do all the jobs that no one wanted to do. And I've done my fair share of that when I was in my late teens. But it is different now, right? And companies are putting a lot of effort into giving interns the best experience, but also a lot of companies, they don't have a large HR team. They don't have a lot of resources to research what they should be doing for interns. So what do you think are the key things that companies need to give an intern for it to be kind of classed as a valuable and meaningful internship?
Yeah, to me, really to understand what's their skill. So to us, we do a lot of assessment, understanding them, because if you are experienced, you kind of could gauge with their experience to know what are their skills. So sometimes interns don't even know they are good in that area, So it's good you could help identify what is their skill, throw them to roles that could let them shine. So for instance, like just a fun fact, my team, especially the Gen Z, most of them are scientists.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they study science. They are pharmaceutical science, biochemistry science. I got so surprised they are in my company. And if they are a scientist and they don't have a past working experience, how do I decide which role to get them in, right? So that's when I understand them through assessment and then get them to also share what they are good in and then put them into the roles that fit into their skill that they have, not in their CVs, but it's the really the soft skill, the hard skills. Like for example, analytical skill. I put them into marketing. If you are in a very administrative operation and task basis, I put them into operation and then let them shine in that role. So I guess it's really helping as a company. It's important to help them to identify what is their strength and their weakness, and then put them into the role that could help them to shine. You didn't know, because if they could shine in that role, potentially they could be your long-term employee already.
Definitely. So we're coming up to 30 minutes, Zhi. I think we had planned for 20. So hey, thank you so much for spending this time with me on the podcast. If people do want to get in touch with you about Monsta and about what you're doing and how you can help them with interns and fresh grads, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can just follow me on LinkedIn, Zhi, and then if not, you can. We have our website, Monsta.Asia. So you can check us out on the website. So yeah, let's keep in touch from here.
Fantastic. So best of luck with the upcoming Monsta Awards. I really look forward to it. Thank you so much again for joining me today, and have a great weekend. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great weekend and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.